All right. Okay. All right. We're live. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. I am just moving some windows around here before we get started, getting things going. And there seems to be a lag here for some reason. Say hello in the chat. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if my sound is okay. I tried to do a bit more of my due diligence with sound this time. The last stream I did, it was kind of glitchy, or it was cutting out. So I did a couple sound checks here. Hello from Ireland. Peace and prosperity. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. My levels look okay, but do I sound okay to you guys? And I'm outside. I'm on my deck, and you can see some chemtrailing that was done last night. Still trying to stop our sunny days. Bloody annoying, but it is what it is. Hey, from Portugal. Hi from Penticton. Hey, Terry. Not too far from me. Okay, let's see this. Okay, let's see here now. Okay, this is interesting. Hola from Costa Rica. I must have picked the right time to do a stream because we got people coming from all over the world. So this is really cool. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll kind of let people trickle in and just kind of read your comments as you come in, and welcome. I haven't been streaming as much lately. It's kind of a thing, if you followed me over the years, it's kind of a thing that I just generally do more in the winter as I have more time. But my life has changed a lot in the last little while, so that's also been a factor in how often I do these types of things. Hey, Karen from Oregon. Hey, Katie from Germany. Welcome. The vegan butcher from Oregon. Right on. A proud Flemish in the house from Finland. Is that Finland? No, that's Finnish. What's Flemish? Susan, welcome from Northwest Alberta. Not too far from Dawson. Right on. Good. Well, this is cool. I wanted to stream today and kind of just share some stuff with you guys. I was never really one to share too much about my personal life, but when my wife passed, it was kind of hard not to. And so I did, and yeah, I've kind of shared some stuff here and there about my personal life over the last little while, and so I kind of felt it appropriate to just come out and share some stuff that's been quite profound for me. I've always tried to just share things that are meaningful and helpful, and things that can inspire you. And so, that started with gardening and farming, and then it kind of went to homesteading, being off grid, and then during the COVID show, I kind of came out as a truther then, which I have been for a long time, but I kind of came out of the closet, if you will, then. And so, yeah, so I kind of felt, well, why not share some really major sort of transcendent life experiences that I've had in recent months. Well, really in the last month. But it all kind of started about maybe early May this year. And well, it actually started a year ago. And so I'll kind of go back and just share some stories with you guys about some things that happened to me over the last year. Kind of a little bit, it started kind of a little bit before my wife went into her long journey with cancer. And up until recently, it's been quite a journey for me in the last year, as you can imagine. And full disclosure, I'm putting myself out here, and I am being vulnerable, and and I feel strong enough as a man, but also a content creator of 10 years, to be able to handle the downside repercussions of doing that, because it is, you come out and you express a vulnerability. People that are in not so great of a state of mind will jump on that and take advantage of that. And I've certainly seen that. And that's going to be part of a little bit about what I'm going to share today, because, I came out a little bit before my wife had passed, and I made a post on Twitter about that. And and then when she passed, I posted that, and there's some pretty nasty people that kind of came out of the woodwork. It's kind of amazing, actually, when you put yourself out there and are willing to be vulnerable. It's quite amazing what it pulls out of people, and it really does sort of expose people who I think have, well, obviously bad intentions, but people that I think who are sort of, I'd say, metaphorically possessed by demons, but it's probably not that simple. And maybe it's not that at all, but that's how I perceive it, is that, it brings out the worst and best in people. I would say overall, it brought out the best in people. Myself and my children, and even my family, my wife's side, have experienced just an immense amount of gratitude, an immense amount of support from people. And I would say that has been sort of 99% of what we've experienced. But it is interesting how it can really bring out the haters and sort of expose them. And so I'm going to share a bit about that in this journey of a story that I'm going to share with you guys today, of a journey that really started. It started over a year ago, and I'm not talking about my wife, my wife specifically. I'm talking about sort of a journey that I was on that really began. I mean, when you think about self-growth and things like that, it's hard to actually pinpoint where did it start. But there were certain events that that happened in my life that, as the dust has kind of settled with my wife's passing, and I've kind of moved into some level of normalcy with my life, and um, how it's changed. That, it's kind of, yeah, you kind of get this perspective, and you go, okay, this and this and this. And I've kind of found throughout this journey that that things have become more clear in my path the more time has been since my wife's passing. And a lot of things have just become really apparent, especially as my children and I have kind of settled into where we are now. And just a lot of amazing things have happened. And so, got this, gonna take a little sip of coffee here. Finish my coffee. Hey, wow, people from Croatia. Hey, thanks, Rogue Spear, for showing up. And please, don't hesitate to lead any annoying trolls that want to just cause a ruckus. But yeah, this journey, at least from my perspective on it now, maybe in a year's time I'll do another stream, because a lot has changed in the last month, and I'm going to kind of take you guys through this timeline of things that have happened to me, and I hope that it can be of value to you in some way, and it can inspire you to think about how you can manifest things in your life. And so let's get into it. So about a year ago, about a year and a half ago, I was invited to speak at Confluence down in Bandera, Texas. My buddy Alex Zek invited me down there to speak, and I did a presentation on law and equity, which is mostly what I do these days. Actually, it's I've been less of a content creator, though I still am, but I've been kind of just doing a lot of private consulting in law and equity and Canadian law and things like that. And it's kind of a career path that just kind of presented itself to me as I found that there was demand for it, and I felt that I noticed there was a lot of people in Canada that were struggling and needed help, and I figured some things out that I've been able to help people with. So I was down there presenting on that, which is not what I've done for many years. I mostly have been in the sort of market gardening, urban farming, homesteading, off grid space, finding land and stuff like that. That's been my call it my vertical for years, for 10 years. And what did I say, buddy? Thank you. I've got some family hanging out, and so I just don't like it when my kids come on my live stream. I don't want my kids on camera. But so I was invited down there to speak on law and equity, and yeah, had an amazing experience at that event. I went down there again this year. I'll kind of bring it all to there. But when I was going down there, my wife was in okay health, but she wasn't. It wasn't anything major. Like at that time, we had no idea that things would go the way they did. And so it was appropriate for me to go and do a speaking gig. She was able to, she was, fully functional as a mom and a homesteader and all that. And, but when I went down there, I was dealing with some stuff in my personal life and my family life, particularly with my son, and just having some, communication issues with him. And a lot of that was on my mind when I went down there. And that was actually primarily what was on my mind. I don't know, some of you may experience this kind of thing when you travel and you leave your family. Like as soon as you get on a flight or on a drive, you're just kind of thinking about your family. That's how it's been for me. I've always had a difficult time leaving my family to go on trips, but it's how I made a living for a long time. And so, it's kind of a thing that you do, right? And these are the compromises you make as a father, as a resource provider for your family. And so, I'm kind of going down there with that on my mind. And the event was amazing. This year was actually even better. But I had a couple transcendent things that happened to me down there that I kind of have pieced together what they mean now. And I'll kind of like take you through this story and kind of where we are now. But when I went down there, I met this dude named Yerasimos, who has become totally like a brother from another mother for me. And he taught me about human design. And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with human design, but it's sort of it's a way of just understanding yourself and other people's personalities. It's based on the zodiac, numerology, I Ching and things like this. But it's really interesting because I find it super accurate. Especially now, I've been like really looking at this stuff for over a year, and it's actually changed a lot in my life and helped me navigate my relationships a lot better. Anyway, so I met this guy Erasmus. He was blowing my mind with all this human design stuff, and I remember hanging out with him at a table, and we were just bullshitting as you do at these events. And he told me like to search so I searched my wife, I searched my son, my daughter, myself. And I had these profiles, and he was explaining all this stuff to me, and it just became like crazy apparent to me, especially with my son, because I was carrying this whole thing of like, how do I communicate with him better, and how do I, be a better dad and understand him more. And I found out that he, in human design, I don't expect any of this to make sense to you as far as human design right now. You can just kind of go look into it and check it out. But I discovered that he was a projector, and in human design, there's 5 different types of profiles. And a lot of again, it's based on the zodiac, but there's also these lines in human design, these number profiles. And so I'm a generator 5-1. Generators and manifesting generators make up about 70% of the world's population. We're kind of like the worker bees. We're the people that just kind of go out and just make things happen. And then there's projectors, there's generators, manifesting generators, projectors, is generators, manifesting generators, manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. Reflectors are a tiny minority, like I think less than 1%. And projectors are something like 20%. Anyways, I found out that my son was a projector. And once I understood that, I started to kind of realize that I was communicating with him in a different way, because I kind of talk to my kids. I kind of talk to them like adults for the most part. I use big words. I speak to them just like I would speak to you. and I articulate myself as I do with any adult. And I think that's helped my kids become pretty smart. They fairly large vocabulary for kids. And anyways, I would speak to my daughter and my son the same way. And my daughter's a generator too. She's a generator 3-5. Katie, my late wife, was the manifesting generator 2-4. And so generators and manifesting generators are very similar. They respond to things with like a gut impulse. It's like we respond with our gut. And I've always found that when I follow my gut, that's always when I'm right on things, and it's when I don't and I over intellectualize things, it's when I'm not. And so I find out my son's this projector, and it was kind of mind blowing to me. And anyways, I met this woman down there named Eileen McCusick, who has become like a really good friend of mine. She does biofield tuning, and she's a world-renowned biofield tuning expert. She's written many books, and we totally hit it off. We were both generators of the same similar profile, and we had just had this very similar way of communicating. And anyways, she did this biofield tuning session, which I know this is going to sound new agey to people. I don't look at it that way. I just look at it, this is just interesting ways to look at the world. I don't prescribe to any particular dogmatic belief system, if you call it new age or call it whatever. I don't care about those labels. I just find the stuff interesting and it's useful. So take it for what it's worth. And if what I'm saying is resonating with you, great. If it's not, then that's okay too. But she did this biofield tuning session at Confluence, and it was in this yurt, and it was pretty trippy. I have to tell you, as somebody who had had a number of psychedelic experiences in my youth and kind of later in my life, I had been on the hero's journey, if you will. You do sort of a heroic dose of mushrooms. You do the hero's journey. You start, you go into conflict, and you have a confrontation, and then you kind of come out reborn. It's cliche, but it is what it is. And so I'd have experience like that. And anyways, she did this thing where she put like the full zodiac on the floor with quartz crystals. Again, sounds new agey. It is what it is. She was going through all the zodiacs and tuning these. The whole idea was to purge the United States. So they put the birth date of the United States, I believe it's the 1776 date in there, not the corporate de facto birth date, but they put that in there. And the whole idea was like, let's purge, as much of the evil in the world as we can through this process. And so she went through all the signs of the zodiac, and I didn't really feel anything for a while. Like it was kind of, I think it was like 4 or 5 signs. I didn't really notice much, but I was open-minded, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to be here, be present, listen to the sounds, feel the sounds, pay attention to people around me, observe, and just be there objectively. And I had no opinion on any of it. Biofield tuning was totally new to me. I mean, I probably heard about it before, but I didn't really understand it until I met Eileen, and we just really hit it off, and we became friends right away. And then she did this tuning, so I already had a connection to her. And so she's doing this thing, going through all the zodiac signs, and yeah, for a while I wasn't feeling anything, but it was around the 6th or 7th sign where it just really, I had this like fucking crazy emotional pull into, as my daughter looking at me through the window, into this feeling that I never felt before. It was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like something anchored into my heart, and it pulled me in or down into this like crazy feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. It was emotional. I could feel myself observing others around me, and I felt super empathic. Like all of a sudden I felt like I was sort of tuned into the emotional frequency of the people around me. And it was really surreal. And it just kept pulling me deeper and deeper and deeper until probably around the second to last, like to the second from the last sign, maybe the third from the last sign that she went through. I felt crazy. I felt completely like I was crying. Like it was nuts. It just pulled me in, and I felt totally locked into this feeling of, call it despair, call it um, adrenaline. The way I describe it now is I felt like I was at war. I felt like I had been pulled into a war, and I was feeling what a soldier in the trenches would feel. Like you've lost friends, you've watched people around you die, you're injured, like you're fucked up, you're just like, you're shell shocked, you name it. That's how I felt with all this. And it was crazy because as it went through the last couple signs, I felt really strong. Like I felt like I'd been battle hardened, and it was crazy. And by the time the whole thing finished, I I felt like I had been to a war and back, and I felt really, really strong. But I also felt this immense emotional sort of thing that I've overcame, and myself and a bunch of other people around just started kind of crying. Like, it was like, what is this, And one of the cool things about Confluence that's a really great experience, if you've ever been to it or think about going to it, the quality of people there are like second to none. I've never been to an event where there was so many good quality men and women, and particularly the men. I think it's probably a guy like Alex Zek who brings that out. He's just such a solid dude and really brings out this sort of heartfelt masculinity that I think the world is lacking in so many different ways. And I found myself, because I've tried to be that as a man. Like I've tried to be heartfelt and lead by my heart and just kind of wear it on my sleeve. And that means that some people will attack you and whatnot, but that's okay. But I just found all these like really powerful men around me were having a similar experience, and they just embraced me, and it was really amazing. I felt, and I was away from my family too, so I kind of felt it was kind of bothering me. Anyways, Alex Zach's dad, who's a total bro, Derek, he really embraced me. And are you taking off, Mom? Okay, I'm just gonna give my mom a hug. I'll be right back.
Thank you. Thanks. Had a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
You know me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Hey, have a good drive, Mom. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. My mom is just taking off, but I got the brother-in-law hanging out with my kids. And so, and anyways, yeah, Derek really just embraced me, and he's a real strong, powerful dude who's very awake, and he's into all the law stuff and all that. And it was amazing. I just felt like I had been through the trenches of warfare. And this is all going to tie into what happened to me and what had transpired over the last year. But anyways, this really kind of crazy thing happened where I still felt emotional, and I just kind of had to just go and like wind down somewhere. So I went into one of the houses that some of the speakers hang out in down there, and I went in there, and Andy Kaufman, who's a good buddy of mine, was there, and in the house it was just him. And anyways, I go to the bathroom, and I'm just losing it. Like I just had this crazy emotional, overwhelming thing I just can't really explain any other way. And anyways, all of a sudden I get a text message out of the blue, and it's from my wife, and it's a little voice message, and I listened to it, and it was my son, and he's like, and it's just like those voice messages you can send over text. It was my son, and he's like, "I love you, Dad." And it was so fucking crazy that at that moment my son texted me, because I had been thinking about him and all this stuff, and then out of the blue, there he is, and yeah, it was just crazy. And so anyways, the next year, what unfolded was the most difficult experience I've ever had in my life, which was, you know, being a caretaker for my wife as she struggled through her transformation to the other side. And I realize now that that event, whether it was meant to be this way or anything like that, that event prepared me for what I went through. And I realized this now. And I actually didn't realize this until about a couple weeks ago. I was in the shower and I just like, I just, it all kind of came to me. And, and so, yeah, anyways, that was a crazy, crazy experience that I had. And so, over the next year, I had been through this, you know, real grind, and I'd done, if you haven't seen my video that I talk about that, you can go and check that out. It's one of the more recent videos I posted. I haven't posted much since then. I'll kind of take you through that journey a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life, was to be available to my wife 24/7. And that really, yeah, it was just constantly looking for solutions that she wanted. It was all directed by her. She didn't want to go the allopathy route, and so we didn't. But because I have a lot of connections in the alternative health world, if you will, I leveraged my connections. I was calling people, and I'm forever grateful for Alec Zek for the resources he provided me, and the guidance that he gave me during that time. And yes, my wife passed, but I don't look at all of that as a failure, because I do believe that this was her path. She didn't want allopathy for a reason. One thing that happened in that whole experience is that one of the doctors that we hung out with, where I was the last doctor that I spoke to, he said to me, he's like, don't beat yourself up about this, because you could have gone through chemo and radiation for years and ended up in the same place. And so that often happens for people, and they often suffer more as a result. I'm not here to put a line in the sand and make any claims about what works and what doesn't. You do your journey. But that was the journey that we went on. And but yeah, it was a tough one. But in all of that, I think myself and my family, we kind of came out of it. Maybe, I don't know, who's to say what's the best or what's the worst or whatever. Is that we tried all of these things. Like, the list of things that we went through was absolutely insane. And it was just nonstop, different types of protocols, different types of treatments. And I spent probably somewhere between $80 to $100,000 on finding treatments for her and consulting and things like that in the last year. And so, it was a fucking grind. It was a constant battle. And that's kind of where I felt like, at the end of it, there was periods of grief. Like, the grief was insane. But the one thing that, and this is all going to tie into where the title of this video is tied to all this. It's actually tied to Katie, and it's also tied to this new woman that's come into my life that I'm going to talk a little bit about. And there's quite a few stories in that too. But this is all kind of pretext to I'm kind of setting up where I want to go with all this. But yeah, when we were going through the grief, and we still are, like, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, we're still grieving, though it's different now. It's different stages of grief. And what I found that was the thing that kind of got me through the worst of it, was kind of, in a way, we were grieving my wife almost 3 months before she passed, really, because of where it was going and how difficult things were becoming, and the constant care, and it got to a point where I just needed help. Like, I called Katie's mom, it was like early January, And I was just like, I need help. Like I can't manage this by myself. Like I need help. Having the kids, my work, all of this is like if I don't have help, I'm just gonna buckle. Like I'm gonna collapse. Like I just so she came out and was with us for 4 months, 3 months before she passed, and 1 month after. And yeah, and so the thing that was so big in looking through all of this and kind of where I am now and my perspective is that event was transcendent for me. And whether it was anything to do with the tuning itself, whether it was God's way of coming into me and giving me strength for the journey I was going to go on, or it was something that was just manifested within myself, I don't know. I'm not here to make claims about that because I don't know. I don't really know. I just know what I experienced and what I feel. And that's all I'm sharing with you. I'm not here to make claims about anything about what is this and you should do this or that. It's just like, this is my experience. Take it for what it's worth. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. But the thing that was so big for us was accepting all the stages of grief. And one thing I didn't say is sort of an update on things. And even when I made that first video, it was still a thing, is that shortly after, like, well, about a month before my wife had passed, I had noticed this lump in my chest right here building up, and it was growing. And right around the time she passed, kind of like the last week in the hospital, it was about a 3/8 of an inch in this lump, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I knew what it was. I mean, my heart knew what it was, and that it was cancer. And often, if you look at and this happened to my dad actually, is and his wife, often when a spouse goes through trauma and then dies, the other spouse often dies fairly close, and sometimes of the same thing. So like my dad, he died of a stroke during he took the COVID shots and then died of a stroke about 2 weeks later. I was at his bedside for 4 days during his last hours on this earth, and his wife died 6 months later of stage 4 lung cancer, and she wasn't a smoker. She was like 30-40 years ago, but not a heavy one, not like my dad was. She got this like crazy onset cancer that just took her, gone. One thing I've learned too is that grief is often experienced in the lungs, and you often will have you experience congestion and coughing and things like that. And we've had a little bit of that too. But anyways, I had this lump growing in my chest, and I was like, yeah, I fucking know what that is. Especially because I had been so down the rabbit hole with alternative cancer treatment or things like that. And so I basically embraced all the stages of grief, and I just accepted them. So all of these stages we just went into and accepted and let the river of grief come through us for myself and my kids. And so at this moment now, this little tumor thing is gone. It's completely gone in my chest. And it was kind of crazy because I went back down to Confluence. There was a doctor that I tried to have my wife work with for a long time. His name's Paul Leendurst, and he his thing is the Root Cause Institute, and his whole thing is going to the root of trauma and anxiety and stress, and getting that, cutting that at the cord and addressing that trauma and that you felt as a child and whatever. And I believe that was the root cause of my wife's cancer, is that there was things that happened to her when she was younger that she never let go of. She never fully went through. And so she carried that as an anxiety. And I believe that's what what manifested her breast cancer. And I believe that's what started to manifest itself in mine. And so, yeah, by the time Confluence this time of year came around. It was in April this year. Oh, was it May? Anyways, doesn't matter. I went down again. I was supposed to be a speaker this year, but I canceled because of what was going on in my life. And then Alec, after the kind of the dust settled a little bit after my wife's ceremony of life, and kind of things started to normalize a little bit. Katie's brother Clinton became just like a godsend for us and really stepped up and has made himself available, and he's been a critical part of how I've been able to just do things like this. Like I wouldn't be able to do this kind of thing if it weren't for him, and he's here at the moment, and he's become like my brother, my real brother in a way, and has been there for me. And so he said, go down to Confluence. Alec invited me just to come down and attend, and so I did. And so when I got to Confluence, it was like a Wednesday night. Got in fairly late, and the whole event is just kind of getting started. I just kind of checking things out. Hey, people here saying hi and stuff. And I go into the main kind of hangout area. It was like a restaurant at Molly's Farm there in Bandera, Texas. And Paul Leendertz is the first guy that I see. He was sitting next to Tom Barnett and a few other people that I knew. And I went right up to him and just introduced myself to him, and I told him this story, and he was interested. He was into it. I told him this story, and I told him about what I'd been experiencing in my chest and all that, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you pretty much got through it because of how you accepted all the stages of grief and anxiety and let it all go through you." And so, anyways, that was very meaningful for me, and also I feel very empowered in the sense that like I had this fucking lump. I'm not kidding you guys. Like I had this lump growing here right in my chest, and it was sticking out, but it's totally gone. It's like, what is that, and I ran that by a few I have a lot of friends that are doctors, because of just like my work in consulting. A lot of my clients are doctors, basically truth or doctors that got awake during the COVID scam, and they've I've been helping them kind of navigate the matrix, if you will. And I ran it by a bunch of doctor friends of mine, and they're like, yeah, that's what happened, and that's what you did. And so that all comes up to this journey I'd been on for the last number of months, where I realized fairly quickly that I needed to move on after Katie passed, that I needed to find another partner, not only for myself, but primarily for the well-being of my children. Is that my children need a mama bear in the house. They need that female presence, and not only like the homestead too. Like I couldn't do any of this shit if it weren't for my wife. And to be totally frank with you, since she's been gone, this has been fucking hard. But thank God for my brother-in-law, Katie's brother, who is basically, up here 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, helping with the farm chores. He's been pretty much running the gardens this year. I just kind of tell him what to do, and he executes. We have dinner together a couple nights of the week. He'll make dinner. He's been a real nurturer. But that's the thing that's been lacking in my life, is that I need a woman in my life, and I felt this from Katie, that there's no way she wouldn't want me to move on. There's no way that she wouldn't want me to find another woman to be part of our family. And I felt that really strongly. And I discussed this with her mother and her brother, because they were the kind of the closest to me when we were going through all the stuff that we did with Katie. And so I kind of knew right away, actually. I mean, not like the day of that Katie passed, but I would say a few weeks after, after we had done her ceremony of life, and as the kind of the dust had settled, and I really felt like it was necessary for me to move on fairly quickly. And I felt very fine about that. There's people out there that um, that don't think that's okay, but they're not me. So like I don't really care what people who don't know me um and don't understand what we had been through fully. Like I don't really care what people think, you know. People will make their judgments as they do. This is the life of being somebody that's someone in the public, is that no matter what you do, people are going to take a stance on the things that you do. But overwhelmingly, the people in our family, and I would say most importantly, Katie's family, have supported my desire to move on and find another partner for myself and my children and for our homestead, because I couldn't do any of this without that. And having Clinton, you know, Katie's brother here is he's going to continue to be here no matter who I settle with. And I have settled with somebody, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I just want to take you kind of through this whole journey, because I think there's a lot of lessons that you may or may not find useful. Everybody I can tell you in my personal life and family that I've told this story to has been blown away by it. That's kind of why I felt kind of compelled to just do a stream and tell this story. So anyways, I knew fairly quickly that I needed to move on. I knew that it was okay by my family, most importantly, Katie's family. I knew within myself and my children that they wanted that. And you know, Katie and I wanted to have more kids. Like I've always wanted to have a big family, and we had one really tough miscarriage. Over the last 3 years, we had two miscarriages. One that was like brutal, very, very hard on Katie. And then another that wasn't as hard, but it's always hard because the emotions of it, you know. And so, you know, I always felt that there was my sort of spiritual path to have a big family and have a lot of children. And so I felt after Katie passed and the sort of the dust had settled with some of that, none of it's fully settled, but the majority of it, as far as like the things you have to deal with and stuff like that when somebody passes, had been dealt with. And so I kind of felt ready to just like start putting it out there, you know. It's been an interesting fucking journey, I'll tell you. So I was kind of like, well, how does a guy like me who's kind of well known, how do I find somebody without just like dealing with gold diggers or you know, like how do you do it? It's hard. It's actually I don't know if it's harder for a guy like me who's known. I don't know. I don't know what's harder, but I can tell you that the dating world today is so fucked. And so I want to share with you some serious insights that I've had in it, and some conclusions that I've come to, and some recipes that I think could be helpful to you. So this is going to be the next stage of this sort of story that I'm laying out to you. And so, yeah, and you know, a big problem for me is that, okay, I'm out there, you know, YouTube channel that has a fair number of subscribers. You know, people know who I am. I go to places around the world and people recognize me. It's not like any type of celebrity would, but I go to places and I get recognized. Not a ton. It's not like it's not like Beatlemania, you know. It's like screaming fans, but you know, I'll be in a fucking urinal in an airport, an international airport, and somebody will be like, "Hey man, I love your videos," kind of thing. It's always good. It's always nice. It's like people that follow me are generally very kind, and it's always good. But it does make things kind of challenging, one for that reason, but the other is I live remote. Like look behind me, you know, like I live in a very remote area. I'm like only like I can drive into the nearest town in like 15 minutes, so I'm not that like remote, but I'm remote enough that I can't go to like, you know, a singles gathering in my area and expect to yield anything, you know. I can't go out to some kind of social event and meet single women that would be an eligible match for me. It's just not possible based on my context. And so I was like, so what do I do in how do I do this? And so a lot of my friends reached out to me over the last, I've got amazing friends and a lot of old friends that I knew even back in the days of Montreal reached out to me, and I had like all these really nice people reach out. And so, my one buddy I was talking to, I hadn't talked to in years, but he was a friend of mine in Montreal, and we used to go out together, and we were like single guys on the scene. And he's a lawyer. He's like a good friend of mine. We lost touch, but he reached out, and we were just chatting. He's like, dude, you need to just like see what's out there. And so I went on like a couple of the dating apps. I went on one called Hinge. I went on the unjected one. There's like one for unvaccinated people. And then I went on this other one called Bumble. And I made a profile. It wasn't all that great, but I just like I put myself out there. And I saw really quickly like this is brutal. Like the online dating world for men is horrible. It's also horrible for women in a lot of ways because it basically reduces you down to a set of JPEGs and the best type of profile you can write. But it's created this world, and there's so much information about this. Like, I'm not really dropping any major truth bombs here, but it is brutal if you're a man, to get any type of traction in the online dating world. It doesn't really work because you're just a profile and a set of pictures, and women are just swiping and guys are swiping. And if you ever looked at any of the analytics on it, it's horrible. It's something like a guy has to swipe right 1,000 times just to get one successful meeting with a woman. Like literally, that's what it is. Whereas a woman can basically just pick or choose. And that's not necessarily in the woman's favor either, because it's objectified men and women to just these algorithmic profiles that is just not realistic in the real world. It's not how I met my wife. And I'm going to explain how I met her too in this, because it all ties into this thing that I manifested. And so anyways, I tried a bit of that. I just had no luck with it. I mean, I wasn't really spending a ton of time with it, but I was spending enough time into it to be like, my God, this is such a waste of time. You could sit there for hours swiping and you don't match with anybody. Even though, consider myself a fairly high quality man. I'm resourceful. I've got resources. I'm sure there's many other men that are more attractive than I am, but whatever. I have a fairly realistic understanding of who I am and what I bring to the table. I understand myself very well. So that wasn't working. And so a really good old friend of mine, Jillian, who I've been friends with for probably 15 years or so. Her and her husband were good. I was good friends with her and her husband, and they were the good friends of myself and Katie. But she told me years ago, so this would have been almost 11 and a half years ago. I met my wife. We became a couple. No, we met October 14th of 2014. And about 2 weeks prior to that, my friend Jillian said to me, she's like, you need to write a list of what is your ultimate woman. Like, make a very detailed list of what the perfect woman is for you. And so at the time I did that, and I wrote that up, and it was pretty specific. It wasn't as specific as the one I just wrote, which I'll share with you. But it was very specific. It was like the kind of body type the woman has, the color of her skin, her personality traits, the things she's into. It was very, very specific. So I wrote that list, and I didn't do much with it. Like, I wasn't into online dating. I've never really been into it. Like, I may have tried it a few times when I was single, but when I was single in Montreal, it wasn't really a thing. Like, when I was on the scene dating girls and like hooking up with girls and all that kind of shit, it wasn't a thing. There was one called Lava Life around. But there was no Tinder. There was none of the ones that are prominent today. And so I didn't really use those. And so the online dating world wasn't really a thing that I had any experience with. I'd always just been an old school guy who just approached women. If I saw a girl somewhere that looked interesting to me or compelling, I would just approach them. And I was fairly good at it. I became fairly good at it. I even got into all that like pickup artist stuff, which I'm not proud of, but I read that book, The Game, years and years ago. And when I was in Montreal, I was doing that stuff. I would just see girls at a bar and I would just approach them and just I was pretty good. I was probably 50% success rate. Again, I'm not the most attractive guy. I'm not the most like fit guy, but I am charming and I know how to to speak a good game, if you will. And so I used my charm and I leveraged the characteristics that I knew were my strengths, and I sort of organized and managed my weaknesses. And so that's been a pretty good thing for me in my career, but also meeting women. And so, anyways, so over 10 years ago, I write this list, and I really just like bubbled on it, if you will. I would read it over and over again. I would discuss it with male and female friends of mine. And so in a way, I kind of just like put that out there into the ethos, if you will. And 2 weeks later, I met my wife at an airport. And it was fucking crazy because I had this list, and all of a sudden she appeared. I was speaking at an event in Vancouver, and I just flew there for the day, did this conference, and then I flew back at around 5 o'clock. And she's flying to Kelowna, so she's on the same flight as me, and I knew her. So I knew Katie in high school, and so we both graduated in 1998, and she was in all of my art classes in grade 11 and 12, and I was obsessed with her in high school, like obsessed, because she was kind of a badass girl. Like, she's blonde, she's hot, she had like a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos, but she had a tattoo. She became a lot more, you know, a tattooed girl, which wasn't my thing, but whatever. You know, it was one of those things that wasn't on my list. Actually, I didn't on my list prior to meeting her. I didn't specify that at all. And so anyways, I run into her at this airport. And so we were friends. We were platonic friends in grade 11 and 12. And we were both total slackers in high school. Kind of punk rock. I was a lead singer in a punk rock band. And she was just this badass art girl who had a tattoo. She had one of those like nose rings. She didn't have that when I met her again, but she was a badass. And I, at the time, like in high school, I was just obsessed with her. And so we had all these art classes together. So, and those are the only things that we did well in high school. Like when I was in high school, I did very well at English and literature, and art. And so we had at the high school that we went to in Kelowna, it was called KSS, Kelowna Secondary School. It had like the best arts program. And so we had a general arts class together. We had photography and like media arts. We had a commercial art class together. It was general arts, photography, commercial art. Maybe it was three. Anyways, it's not important. We had all these art classes together, and so I would just like talk her ear off. And I was horrible at getting to know women when I was younger. I had no game. You know, she had an older boyfriend at the time. But anyways, so I had thought about her for years. Like, I'm not kidding you. And it was probably like a couple years prior to me running into her at the airport. Like, we became Facebook friends and only had a few exchanges, nothing serious. She was in Vancouver. I was in Montreal for part of that time, and then I came back to Kelowna. But anyways, so I'm in this airport after I had written this list, 2 weeks prior, and there she is. Like, holy shit. And so I immediately just went at her and was just like, I had a lot more game, at this point because I had a solid career. I had some money. I had a lot of financial independence, and we totally just hit it off. And so she was going into Kelowna to meet her grandmother, to go hang out with her grandma. And I was like, hey, let me take you to dinner. And so at this time, I was farming still too. So I had I had a lot of I was able to present in a way that was, I guess, a lot more attractive to a woman because I had, a very, very honed in skill set of being a farmer and a consultant. I had a nice home, and I knew all the top chefs in town. So I like wined and dined this girl and took her out to some really nice restaurants. And of course, I take her to the restaurants, and I know the chef, and the chef's bringing us stuff. And so I was like, uber, looking slick. And so, from there on, like that's how I met my wife, and we became like total kindred spirits. And it was probably less than a year from that we got pregnant with our first with Violet. And yeah, so the rest is history there. So, 10 years together, two beautiful children, built an amazing life here on this homestead together, traveled the world together, did all these amazing things. And then, yeah, and then it all took a significant turn for the worse once Katie's journey with breast cancer began, and then that kind of takes us, obviously I'm not going to tell you the whole family story and all that and all the things we did, but it was the message here is that I wrote this list that was super specific, and I call it a manifestation, call it whatever you will, but she came into my life because I had put all these intentions out there. So fast forward to now, fast forward past the pretext of the first part of this stream where I described this transcendent experience I had at Confluence last year, and learning a lot of these things about myself, my children, who I am, understanding human design has been very transcendent for me in helping foster really solid relationships in my life. Also, understanding the zodiac has been incredible as well. And so, anyways, kind of skipping back to where the dust had settled into my life, and then I started kind of thinking about how do I meet another woman that is going to be a good match for myself and my children, primarily my children, but me most importantly. It has to be me first, and then they have to fit into my life here on the homestead because I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving for a woman. A woman has to move for me because look what I have. Like, I'm not going anywhere, right? And so the type of woman that I need is very specific. Especially, I'm a single dad, widowed, with two beautiful children. Anybody who's going to come into my life is going to have to, fit into that, right? And so I put myself in a very vulnerable position by coming out because there was like, so anyway, so I kind of throw myself back into the dating world. Looked at some of these apps, realized this is bullshit. Like this isn't going to yield anything for me. I'm just going to sit here and waste my life away swiping. This is just fucking pathetic. It's just like this endless slot machine. So I found myself going, this is ridiculous. And so I realized that like that's not going to work. And so my friend Jillian reached out to me again, and she's kind of been like a sister to me for a really long time. And she's like, dude, you need to just write that list again. And I was like, fucking right. I forgot about it. Like I forgot that I did that, and I didn't forget about it. It's just that it just wasn't in the top of my consciousness. And so I wrote a list, and the list was ridiculous, and I think I'll share it with you guys. And I kind of put myself out there to do this kind of thing because, it's you have to take risks and in a way make yourself vulnerable in order to find meaningful things. And so that's what I did. So I wrote this list, and then and I percolated on it for a while. And I talked to like really close friends of mine, and that's kind of been the way I've in a way manifested things in my life. Is I kind of like set up a framework for something, and then I discuss it with my close friends, people that care about me, and people where I care about them. And I'm the kind of guy that I have a good amount of really close friends that I do my best to help them, and then they do their best to help me. And it's been a big part of what's allowed me to become who I am, and probably why you know about me. It's not necessarily the fans and the subscribers. It's actually like the will and intention of my close counsel of people that are around me. And I've actually been very blessed in my life to have a number of, call it, older soul sisters around me that have been very wise women that have helped me. Somebody here says vision boards. Yeah, I like that term. And that's what it was. So anyways, I make this crazy list. And then I was talking to a friend, and about just how like lame and depressing the online dating world is, and realizing like this is not going to happen for me. And so what I actually first started doing is I started reaching out to other women friends of mine, that are connected, that know people, and really kind of get excited to like help me, and I've done the same for them. And I said, hey, this is I kind of put it out to a bunch of women, mostly women that I know really well, and then some that I didn't know so well, but I had a really good feeling with, like a good, a good acquaintance relationship, if you will. And so I just said, hey, this is the kind of women that I'm interested in, and if you know any women that are like that, let me know. And that yielded some stuff. Like I went on a couple dates and stuff like that, and not much really came of that. But also when I went down to Confluence this year, I'd met a number of promising women there. That event has just so many amazing people that it's hard not to meet really quality people, men and women. That event in particular, I swear it's like 60% women. It's mostly women. And that's probably because there's so many good quality guys that go there. Like there's no machismo shit. There's no kind of loser incel type guys. It's really quality, like heartfelt guys, which is very helpful if you're actually trying to get to know and find a woman. To have quality men around you is probably like the best thing you can have. Quality women too, for sure. But anyways, so I'd kind of like met some cool girls and stuff like that, and was kind of like feeling okay, I'm kind of getting into the feeling of this, of like being single again. And but it's all different now because I have children, and so your heart is very different, when you have kids, and how you put yourself out there, and how you connect with people is like super different. It's not like what it was for me back in my like swinging dick phase, where I was just totally just aggressively going at women. It's changed. Also, one thing I learned about myself in my sort of human design journey, is like, with me, I'm a generator 5-1. And again, I don't expect this to mean anything for you, but if you want to look into it, have at it. It is very enlightening. One thing that's part of my sort of sacral approach in the world is to lead through response and not to force things. And so it's to respond to things. And I found that, and I was kind of tracing back like past relationships that had failed and things like that. I was always kind of like forcing things, because the generator in me is to just like go and make shit happen. And that's like my best characteristic, but also can be my greatest flaw, if you will. And so I was approaching it differently now. and I was waiting to respond, and that's been what's been successful to me. So anyways, I write up this crazy profile thing. I ran it by some friends, and then one friend reached out and they're like, you need to check out, there's this like Facebook group, and there was two of them. And they're like, you should post your thing there. And I was like, I don't know. I was kind of looking at this group, and there's two of these groups. One of them is terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. It's called Homesteading for Singles. It's a private Facebook group. I wouldn't recommend it. It's full of really toxic people, and they don't moderate it very well. And so it's really shitty, actually. But then there was another one that was called Unvaccinated Singles. And so I posted this in both of these groups. And so I first posted it in the Homesteading Singles group, because I actually, what I did was, and something that I've done in my career for a long time, is I model people. It's just like, marketing level 101 is just like, look what's out there, look at what's working, and then model it in some way, model the successful things, and then kind of cherry pick and then refurbish that approach in your own context. And so I was scrolling through this Homesteading for Singles group, and I was just like looking at what men and women are posting. And it is brutal, man. Like, people post and it's just fucking, it gets trolled so bad. There was just a lot of toxic people, mostly really toxic kind of feminist type women, that would just troll it. But I'm like, I've dealt with trolls forever. I'm not afraid of that. But I saw one guy in there, Adam Kokesh. I got to give him a shout out, because he actually inspired me to pull the trigger on it. And so this guy, Adam Kokesh, he used to be pretty out there. He used to have a show on RT. It was called Adam versus the Man. And at first I didn't realize it was him until I clicked on his thing. And then I looked at his photos and I'm like, oh, that's Adam. That's Adam versus the Man. He ran for I think he ran as a libertarian candidate in the US for president. He kind of put himself out there for a while, and then I think he got really censored, and he kind of went dark for a while. But I saw his post, and it was like pretty hardcore. It was very detailed about what he wanted, and it was a long write-up. He had good quality pictures in there, and I kind of felt inspired. I was like, fucking rights, dude. Like, putting yourself out there. I mean, and the people were trolling it too, like just brutal comments, like really hateful comments from mostly women, but a lot of men too, just kind of incel type loser guys who are just like, they have time for this kind of thing, like to like talk about somebody else's dating profile. It's just like so fucking pathetic, but it's funny. I actually got a kick out of it. Like I was kind of enjoying the comments, and because I've been used to that stuff. Like I've been in the public for 10 years, so like I've dealt with haters forever, and it's just good. That's how it is. Like if you put yourself out there and you show some vulnerability, losers are gonna jump on that. It's like flies on shit, right? It's like sort of bottom feeder people will do that. And so I noticed this real trend. It's like left-wing social justice warrior types and incel types. So it's like on the left, they're loser social justice warriors who just hate everything. Like, and anybody who takes a stance on anything that isn't, basically just jumping on the bandwagon of whatever leftist ideology there is today. And then all these like loser right-wing incel type guys, mostly guys that are just so insecure that all they can do is comment on another alpha. And Adam Kokesh is totally an alpha type personality. He's like a strong, dude. Where he lines up in the exact socio-sexual hierarchy, I don't know. Maybe he's a Sigma male. I don't fucking know. Like, I don't fucking care. But and needless to say, I was inspired by his post because I was like, dude, you've got balls of steel to do this. And I felt stoked. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. Because I knew that the minute I do this, especially in the Homesteading for Singles group, like people are going to know me in that group, right? I have a YouTube channel that has 600,000 subscribers. Like, people are going to know me. People are going to talk shit. But I'm like, okay, fuck it. And so I kind of threw caution to the wind. And this is a funny comment. I just got to read it. Northern Account's like, feel sorry for you, Delvey. It's like, dude, why feel sorry for me? This is fun. Like, this is all good. This is a good learning experience that I'm sharing with you. I don't feel sorry for me, dude. It's like, fuck, I don't need sympathy from anybody. This is fun. Like this is life, right? That's actually another thing that I realized that's probably got me through the worst of the worst with all this experience. Just a little sidebar for a second is that I realized that like what I personally believe is that we are spiritual beings having human experience. That's what I personally believe. And I've always said at the darkest times in my life is I remind myself that that's what it is. And I signed up for this. Like I signed up for the full human experience. And so that's to experience all the loss, all the tragedy, all the triumphs, everything, right? And so I kind of have this sort of charmed way of looking at life that I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do this. So Adam Kokesh inspired me to do it. So I post this thing in there and I'll go through it too because it's an interesting. I might have to take a little piss. I'm going to take a whiz before I go into this, but I post this thing and it just got hammered with brutal comments. Like, and it was the same kind of thing. It was like loser social justice warriors and loser incels who have nothing better to do but talk about my dating preferences. It's just like, and I was enjoying it. Like I was enjoying the hateful comments. It was funny because you can just see people and it'd be like these sort of social justice warrior feminist women that would just comment and then the homesteading for singles one, they kind of had this thing. They go, red flags. Oh my God. Cause I said in this, like I said really fucking specific shit. Like I was like, girl has to be at least an 8 out of a 10. I said even a girl has to be white. I only date white women. And I said, I'm even open to dating a single mom, but her kids have to be white. So I said shit that just triggered leftists and loser incels because how dare you? How dare you ask for an 8 out of a 10? How dare you say the women's kids have to be white? And so I'm going to leave you hanging on that. I'm going to take a quick whiz and I'll be back in 20 seconds. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, you got to enjoy the view. The chemtrails have all but blown away. So that's nice. The sun is back. So anyways, I'll go. We're gonna look at the dating profile, and this will be perfect, content for just loser trolls who have nothing else to do. But I'm hoping that it can inspire other men and women to do the same. But anyway, so I posted in that group. It went insane. Like I guess you could say it went as viral as a post in a private Facebook group could. I think that group, I've deleted all this stuff ever since then because I have met the woman of my dreams, and I'm going to get to that too. But and so, anyways, yeah, it goes as viral as it could, and it went so insane that it just got trolled. But it was actually a lot of good comments too, but it's like anything online. There's like always a minority of people who just have endless amounts of time to just spend on talking about your life instead of living their own life. That's why they're just losers, right? But it was funny because it just went insane. And so it actually got taken down. So when on the homesteading for singles group, it got taken down because it was, I think it just went crazy. And I think people thought I was an imposter at first. I think that's why I got taken down. And so I was pissed. I was like, fuck. Like I was having a good time reading all these comments, but I was getting, like, I'm not kidding you, an insane amount of direct messages from women, like insane. I couldn't even keep up with it. And then I posted it in the other group too, and it went pretty viral there too, and it had a lot more success there because that group gets moderated a lot better. The Homesteading for Singles group has really shitty moderation, and so it gets ruined by all these losers who just troll. And so it's tough because I think it's really discouraging, mostly for women actually. I think the men are better set up to handle that kind of shit than women are. And I noticed this just in a lot of women that reached out to me. I actually met a lot of really nice women. And so anyway, so it gets taken down on the Homesteading for Singles group. And then a guy reaches out to me, this really nice guy named Santi. He reaches out to me, and he was actually, I was watching him because he was defending me. And he at first he thought I was an imposter. And he was like, why are you pretending to be Curtis Stone, blah, blah. And he was just defending me. And I was like, dude, it's really me, because I had to create a new Facebook profile because I deactivated my Facebook account that had a lot of followers during COVID, because I just like, I'm fucking done with this. And Katie at the time was like, get off that shit. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Fuck it. So I deactivated my Facebook account. And then, being single and like kind of on the scene, then I tried to reactivate it. It wouldn't, I couldn't get access to it. And so I just said, fuck it, I'll just make a new one. So I made a new Facebook profile, and I had a, it kind of grew fairly quickly. But yeah, people thought I was an imposter. And so anyways, this guy Santi's in there defending me. And then one of the moderators of the Homesteading for Singles group, this woman named Rachel, reached out to me, and she's like, hey, are you actually Curtis Stone? And if so, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, yes. And I had some voice messages back and forth with her. She was super nice. And so she brought me back in. So I filmed this fucking video with my phone, and I'm just like, hey, it's the real Curtis Stone, and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because I was just getting so many messages from women, I couldn't even manage it. Like it was insane. And so, but like, so many of these women are just like not even close to what I was asking for. And so I was like, just calling it out. I'm like, ladies, please, if you're not at least an 8 out of 10, I'm not for you. And I kind of expect them to be that self-aware about themselves. And if they're not, then it is, like, you're not a match. Like, fuck it. Like, I don't care. And so, and it was funny too, because like I said in there stuff that could be interpreted as racist. And of course, like if you're like not a left-wing person and you speak out about any of this shit, you're gonna get called a racist. So being called a racist was like insignificant to me. It's like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. I want a white woman to procreate with. Oh no, how dare you? Any other race can say that and nobody gives a shit. But as soon as a white guy says it, it's like, oh no, you're a neo-Nazi piece of shit, blah, 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 right? It just so turned out the woman who brought me in was black. And she was totally all for what I was saying. Actually, she was mixed race. And it was kind of neat. I had this little exchange with her. She was really sweet. And she was like, yeah, I totally get why you don't want to have, like, because I said in my thing, I said, like, if there's I was open to having a single mom because they could be widowed, right? And maybe I should have specified that in my thing. I don't think I did, but we'll look at it and I'll show you. And she was like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying about the race thing, because like I grew up mixed race. And she's like, yeah, you know, half my family's black, half my family's white. All my black side of the family all rejected me, and my white side of the family were the ones that embraced me, and I always felt alienated. And so that's why I said that. That's why I said I don't want, if I'm going to date a single mother, which I'm not. The woman I found is not a single mother. But if I'm going to date a single mother, I want her kids to be white so that they fit in together. I don't want to have one kid that's brown that doesn't fit into the mix of the family. Like, that's actually more for them and their well-being than it is mine. But I also believe that it's important to have white kids, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I'm not ashamed. I don't have any white guilt, and I actually think white people need to be procreating, because we're the biggest minority in the world. We're the smallest minority in the world besides the individual. White humans with blonde hair and blue eyes are a total minority, and so my kids are blonde hair and blue eyed. I'd like my future kids to be, close to that. Though I'm not, I'm not going to freak out if I have a brunette child. But anyways, so yeah, it was just funny when I posted that, because I just got inundated with messages. So it's funny because it was like trolls, and it was probably 2% of people in there that just and when they brought the post back, it stayed there. And so probably in total, it had 6,000 comments. The first one got something like 2,500, and the next one was close to that. Maybe call it 5,000 comments. Like, that's insane for, if you understand algorithms and how social media works and stuff like that. Like, that many comments is gangbusters insane. That's like an insane level of engagement. So it's like there's all these people just fucking spending days. Like, I looked at the people, and there's literally sort of loser right-wing incels and sort of loser social justice warrior left-wingers literally spending days in my fucking comments on my dating profile. And it was a really interesting insight into like how fucking sad most people are. Like, dude, you're on a dating site with the purpose of meeting a potential partner, and here you are trolling somebody else's dating, especially for men. It's like uber pathetic, because it's like, dude, how come you're not out there crushing? You're sitting there talking about my dating preferences. It's like the ultimate fucking pathetic thing, and it's just sad. But it was amusing, like, because there's all these people too, like other content creators that just ran with it. And it's like you make yourself vulnerable. People who are insecure and who are losers will jump on that opportunity, because that's how they get ahead in the world, is by trying to tear others down. Instead of building others up, they try to tear others down. And so that's like total narcissism, total it's dark. Like, it's really dark, and it just speaks to a real great insecurity that people like that would have in order to spend that much time talking about my dating profile. But the funny thing was, the irony was, all this controversy, all these comments were only getting me more attention. So in a way, all these losers that are sitting here talking shit are just promoting my shit, because anybody who is going to be somebody that I'm going to be interested in is going to be an independent thinker. And so they're not going to be turned off by shit talk. They're probably going to be intrigued. And so it was kind of funny how it all went, because all it did was advertised my dating profile and got it in front of more women. And so I don't know, where do I want to go? There's so much more to the story, but it was really funny. So like, yeah, in the homesteading for singles group, again, I wouldn't recommend that group. It's not moderated well. Like, it's full of toxic loser social justice warrior feminists and just loser incel guys. Like, I wouldn't recommend using that one. The woman who reached out to me, who was a part moderator though, she was really sweet, but she just basically explained to me that there's nothing she can do, like that she just can't keep up with all the moderation, because Facebook's really inefficient. I found I was years off Facebook, and then I came back onto it. I just kind of like it now, to be honest. I kind of like my feed on Facebook is a lot more positive to me than my feed on X. My feed on X is just complete doom and gloom. But Facebook, and I'm a big fan of music, so Facebook, I just get all these wicked jazz artists that I follow, and I enjoy it. But anyways, so when I first posted that, I just got all these women that were just not even like in my league at all. Like I'm talking, and I'm sorry to sound superficial, and this is going to be offensive to some people, but it's like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. I don't really care at this point if people are offended by anything I say. I never really have, actually, but it is what it is. I was getting women that were just like all kinds of women. I'd say 20% of the hundreds of DMs that I got, 20% were actually potentially eligible. And I'll explain how that process all went. But 80% were just not a chance in hell. It was like a lot of Filipinos that just want to get to Canada. And I said specifically, I only date white women. Okay. And I said, like, you have to be fit. Like, you have to be fit but curvy. That was part of my caricature that I like on women. My profile, if you will. And I was just getting these overweight women with like 4 children. It was just like, give me a fucking break. But I try to be nice. Like I just, like I'm a nice guy. Like people reach out to me and they make themselves vulnerable. And so I was responding to a lot of these messages where I shouldn't have. That's what I learned in all this. If you're going to take what I said and go, the only one I would recommend is the unvaccinated for singles group. It's the only one I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend the homesteading one. Unless somebody makes a truther homesteading one, like unvaxxed for homesteaders, maybe something like that. Somebody should make a group like that. And then that might filter out kind of the toxic feminists and stuff like that. Then you have to filter out the right-wing incel losers. But that's easy to do by just making a policy that's like, don't talk shit on somebody's profile. If you do, you're banned. Then that's what the unvaccinating single group does, which is good, is if you go in and talk shit, you're out. And so they did a big clean house after I posted, because I think when my posts went into these groups, the groups grew like significantly. Because people just they were entertained by it. And I get it. It's entertaining. But to spend days on somebody else's dating profile is like beyond pathetic. And it's the reason why you're not meeting somebody. It's because you're doing that. But anyways, I had this one, I remember this one woman specifically. She messaged me and, she was sweet. But then I looked at her profile and it was like, she was overweight. Okay. And I don't need to name names, but I'm going to say this for a reason. She's overweight and she had 3 boys that were like 12, 9, and 6 or something like that. And so I even said in my dating profile, like, I'm open to a single mom, but number 1, kids have to be white, and number 2, the kids have to be younger than mine, because I don't want some damaged single mom coming into my world, especially with a bunch of boys, and just fucking railroading my kids. It's like, there's no fucking way that's going to work for me. And if you don't like it, I don't fucking care. If that offends you, good. Right? That's the point. And so anyway, I chatted back and I was like, okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out, but you're just not my type. Like, you're not a fit. The fact that your boys are older than, and I shouldn't have said this. I should have just not responded. And that's what I would say to men. If you go in these groups and you're getting DMs from women that are just not even in your league, don't respond. Because responding is it's a narcissist thing, right? Like, it's like with narcissists, you cannot play into their game. If a narcissist is coming at you, minimal response and just clear and cut the cord. You play into a narcissist, you just give them fuel and they just go at you, right? And so this woman got like so offended, and I was so polite. I was like, look, I'm sorry, but you're just not my type. My children are young and fragile and they've been through a lot. Like, I can't get into a mix with a woman that has boys that are like 6, 7 years older than my kids. It's not gonna work. She got super pissed, and she must have told a bunch of other loser incels. And so all of a sudden, there was these guys in there saying, you're a fucking piece of shit. How dare you say you want a woman with younger kids and you want a woman with girls. And that's not specifically what I said, but these I was just watching these comments. And so basically for 4 days straight, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go all in. And I was just like on this, and I was nonstop DMs, answering DMs from women, and I was on the phone for 4 days straight. So my whole strategy with the whole thing was, because I'm not a texting guy. Like I can't fucking sit on my phone and do this. I prefer, like, I have my phone. I learned this from Dave Avocado Wolf. My phone sits on a little thing like this. I don't have to touch it because it actually it hurts my hands. And so if I have a phone near me, it's on this thing. It's in airplane mode, whatever. I'm not a phone guy. So so when I had, out of the hundreds of DMs of women that came at me, if any of them were promising, I said, let's just have a call. And so we were on FaceTime or on Zoom or whatever. And so for 4 days straight, I was like literally just talking to girls. And I basically said, okay, I'm just gonna like throw myself, and this is what I do. This is kind of how I roll, is I just go all in on things. And then that way I can just kind of go all in, get it done, and then get out. Because like I could see that this was not sustainable. Like with the amount of messages that I was getting from women, it was not sustainable. Like I could not keep up. I literally thought that, man, maybe I should just hire a VA to help me filter all these fucking messages because I can't keep up with it. And so it was just kind of funny because it was like getting trolled on one side, and there's all these kind of just loser content creators that are just talking shit and doing all this retarded shit, talking about my dating preferences, which is hilarious. But in a way, it was good because they were just promoting my stuff and actually got me more attention. Because out of all the quality women that came at me, all of their introductory messages were literally like this. Call it the 20%. They're all like, "Oh, Curtis, I'm so sorry you're getting all these bad comments, but I just want you to know that I really like how you know exactly what you want and how direct you are." Like all these quality women, that was every single one of them said that. Every single one. They were like, I'm so stoked that a guy knows exactly what he wants. And I would get these messages from women that would literally be like applying because I was so specific. And again, we'll go through my whole dating profile. You can make fun of it all you want. It'll be great content for haters and it'll hopefully be inspiration for others. I was so specific to the zodiac sign. Like I knew that I wanted a girl that was either a Cancer or a Taurus. And I knew the human design profiles that I wanted. And actually, even in the dating profile, it would be more specific now. Like I've realized that I can only be with a girl who's a generator or a manifesting generator. And I knew I didn't want Geminis because I had a long string of relationships with Geminis. I'm drawn to Geminis. There's something in me for that, but I realized, fuck that. I want to try something different this time. I don't want to date a Gemini because I want to know who I'm talking to this time. Geminis, it's like, who's it going to be today? The good one or the bad one, right? And anybody who knows Geminis knows that. And that can be a good thing too. Like Geminis can be great. Some of my best male friends are Geminis. But anyways, I was like, I want to try something different. And so, yeah, so, I spent 4 days on the phone basically, and then just responding to DMs and looking at ridiculous comments. And I was totally just, totally just entertained by all of this, even despite all the haters. I thought it was entertaining because it was ultimately the case that they were promoting my thing. Because it's kind of like in media, right? There's that old saying, there's no such thing as bad press. And it's true. So the more that people talk shit and the more that people hate on you, as long as you can handle it, it actually just promotes you. And it's always been that way. Like I've had a lot of haters over the years, not a ton, but because I've done a lot of good for people. And so I don't think I have, Reddit pages dedicated to hating on me because I generally help people. And so I would say overall, as far as the number of individuals, far overwhelming support than I do haters. Haters just occupy a minority, but they take up the amount of airspace because these losers have nothing else to do. Like they're just literally sitting at home by themselves in their fucking parents' basement or wherever the hell they are, and they're just spending days. And it was trippy after I didn't leave it up long. I took these down a while ago. Um, but yeah, I took them down. I posted some other videos and then I took it all down because I'm no longer available. So I met an incredible woman. But before we go to that, what should I do? Should I show? Should I finish the story about how I met this woman, or should I? Tell me, should I finish the story about how I met the woman that I'm with now, or should I go into the full dating profile and just analyze that? And like, what do you guys want? Should I do the dating profile, or should I finish the story and just take that to its logical conclusion and take that to its end and then look at the dating profile? I don't know. What do you guys want to do? I'm kind of like, I could go either way. What do you guys think? Say dating profile or finish the story. Tell me. We'll have a vote on this one, and that's where we'll go. Okay. Well, both. I'm gonna do both, but what should we do next? Finish the story, profile. Should cover the process in series, dating profile, story first. Finish this. Okay, that's enough. I'll finish the story. Okay. Thank you for the feedback. It's cool. It's cool to engage a little bit with you guys and know that you're into this. So, okay. So yeah. So I've got this profile in two places. It's in the Homesteading for Singles group, and then it's in the unvaccinated group. I think, if memory serves me correctly, I disengaged from the Homesteading Singles group. I deleted it all off there pretty quickly. So they kicked me off, and then they had me back, and then I just realized, like, and from the messages too, I was finding that all the, like, 100% of the quality women that were coming, maybe not 100%, but let's call it like 90% of the quality women that were coming at me were from the unvaccinated singles group, because I think that's a pretty big litmus test, the unvaccinated, because that's on my list. Like, I'm not gonna procreate with a woman who's vaxxed. As far as like the COVID shots, I mean, I had childhood vaccines too, and so I'm not going to discriminate on that. That'd be pretty slim, to find that kind of person, especially for me. I'm in my 40s. That's another thing that's difficult about dating in this world now is that, I'm 45, but I wanted a younger woman, like I put on here. And when we look at the dating profile, I'll show you that. Like I said, I think I was like between 28 and 37 or 38 or something like that. I wanted a girl in that age range. And so, yeah, so I got off the Homesteading for Singles one because it's just too many losers. Like, it was just, this is ridiculous. And I was just getting too many messages that just weren't even close to like not enough in the ballpark of what I wanted. And so, but anyway, so I'm just answering DMs. I'm on the phone. The first night I did this, I was literally on the phone and FaceTiming with girls, women, not girls, women, from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. on the first day. It was off the charts. Like, it was, and I because I'm such an extrovert, and I'm like a generator. I'm a Libra generator. I just, like, I get fueled by energy. Like, I can go forever when I do public events, stuff like that. I go forever. I'll go until I completely collapse, basically. And so I was just like so stoked on this. I was having fun. I was like, this is super fucking entertaining. Who gets to do this? Like, I'm literally interviewing women. They're sending me DMs and they're like, hey, Curtis, sorry that your thing's getting trolled so much, but I loved it, and I love how direct you are, and know what you want. And I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm not this, and this is why, and blah 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 blah. And it was just insane. And so I would have all these conversations with these women, and I even said in my profile, I said I want a girl that's at least an 8 out of 10. And actually, what I really wanted was an 8. I don't like women that are too hot, and I know this because, like, I'd been around. I've been with a lot of women. I don't say that to brag, but I did that for a long time, and I don't like girls that are too hot in the like a Playboy girl or like a model type girl. I don't like girls that are 9 or 10. If men have not seen the hot crazy matrix, who's coming up? If you haven't seen the hot crazy matrix, Google that on YouTube. Every young man needs to understand the hot crazy matrix. And it's basically the idea is that if girls are too hot, they're crazy. And I can tell you, in the world of my age bracket, it's like extreme. And I can just tell you this, I don't mean to speak ill will of the nice women that I spoke to, because I did speak to a lot of really nice women. But what I found in the dating world of, call it 40 plus, because I would say the majority of women that came at me were not necessarily like, I had some younger women come at me because I said 28 to 38. I think that's what I put. You'll see it in a minute. Is that in the older women, call it the 38 plus, if they're really hot, like if they were, say, a 9 or a 10, they're kind of one or two things. They're either like a single mom that, had her run with the hottest guys, and that's why she's single, because the hottest guys aren't necessarily the nicest guys, right? Oh, I'm sure that's a controversial thing to say, right? I mean, who's fucking surprised by that? The hottest guys are usually douchebags. And it's actually kind of the same with hot women, is if you're really, really hot, you can just have your pick of the litter all the time. And so you're hooking up with, and this is a big problem in the dating world, is that women that are really attractive actually have it kind of hard, is because they can go out to a bar and hook up with a really high value guy, as far as like, guys are rated on resources more than attractiveness, right? Like, guys don't care about how much money a woman makes. Hardly. Guys care about, does she look like she'd be a good mom? Is she attractive? All this kind of thing. Whereas women first look at a guy's resourcefulness. It's like, does the guy have money? Can he make shit happen? Is he going to stick around? Things like that. And then attractiveness is in there, but it's not the top of the pyramid. And so all these hot women that are now in their like late 30s into 40s are really attractive. Like, I had some women that I spoke to that were like gorgeous. Like, and I have to admit, I was somewhat enamored by that. I'm having all these conversations with very, very attractive women. Like, I'm talking women that are like, they look like models. They're super, super hot. But I'm not overly like, that doesn't sway me anymore. It's because of my context, and I have kids and stuff. And I'm just like, you might be hot, but there's a reason you're single, And that was always one of my litmus test questions with them, is like, how is it that you're single? How is it that you're this quality of a woman and you're single? I literally asked this of every single girl that I talked to. And the answers were very revealing. And but what I found as a trend is that all these girls that are super hot, man, it's tough for them now, because they just blasted through like, hot guy after hot guy after hot guy. Many of these guys got them pregnant and fucked off, lo and behold. And now they're, a 10 out of 10 attractiveness with, a brown baby, or, you know what I mean? Like, just not fortunate circumstances, or they didn't have kids and they're like, a 10 out of 10 hot girl without kids, but they're fucking nuts. Because when you're a really hot woman, what I experienced, because I had a number of very, very attractive girlfriends over the years, and none of them worked out in time. Katie worked out, obviously, but she probably wouldn't have been like a 10, like, but she was overall, right? But I'm just talking about like physical attractiveness. These hot girls, they're nuts because they don't live in reality. Because when you're really, really attractive, guys will say anything to get in your pants. Okay? And that's just the truth. Any guy who's been on the scene fucking knows this. And if you haven't figured this out yet, let me enlighten you. But this is the reality, is that girls that are too hot often suck. That their personalities aren't very refined, because every guy just will say anything to get into their pants. And so they live in this world of yes men and yes women, where people just say things to be around them because people like attractive people, right? Like that goes across for men and women. If you're an attractive woman, you'll be surrounded by other women that want to be around you because their status and attractiveness increases by being close to you. This is just like basic human dynamics. This is not controversial what I'm saying, and it's backed up by legacy psychological research. And all you have to do is live life to figure this shit out. Like I'm not even going to cite research. I can just tell you as a guy who's been around and I've traveled the world and I've done a lot of things, this is often the case. And Deborah here, thank you for what you're saying here. Sometimes being good looking is women intimidates guys, and that's true too. And so you get this when you're too attractive, you lean too much on, say, the physical attractiveness, but then you don't have enough personality. And I have found this to be the case that like often women who are really hot, and I'd say some of the women that I talked to in this little run that I had, really, really hot girls, their personalities are somewhat kind of annoying. Like they talk too much, or they're just fucking arrogant, or their values are just not where mine are. Like I'm a good old farm boy. I'm just like, my values are the same as they were when I didn't have money. I've done my best by being consciously aware of it, and my shortfalls of like keeping my ego in check and things like this, is like I've done the work on my personality to be there. And so a lot of these girls that are really hot, and same for hot guys too, guys that are really attractive, they're fucking douches. Like they're just obnoxious individuals that don't really bring much to the table. Not all of them, of course, like, and there's going to be exceptions in here. There's a unicorn somewhere for sure. But I would say overall, not really. And so that's kind of some of the macro stuff that I experienced. But yeah, so to finish the story, and then we'll look at the list, and then we can dissect this as best as we like. So anyways, 4 days straight on the phone talking to women, and 20% were quality, and so I really kind of narrowed it down to 3 girls kind of near the end of it. There was one woman was in my province, and the other 2 weren't. And I said to people, like, because I made a couple follow-up videos that I posted in these groups. I just said, because more was becoming clear to me as I was talking to girls and stuff, and I was starting to realize, okay, like, this is good and this isn't. And I haven't updated this dating profile because I'm done my search now. But if I were to still stay on the market, then I would have updated it. And maybe when we go through it, I'll do that a bit. I'll say, well, I would have said this or that, but I said things like, look, I can travel. Like I want the pick of the litter because I'm not going anywhere. Like I've got it. I'm set here. Like I've got it made in many ways. Obviously losing my wife wasn't something that I wanted to happen and all that. And there's been a big fucking, a big cog in the wheel, or a monkey wrench in the cog, if you will, or the wheel. And so, where was I going with this? Yeah, so I narrowed it down to the kind of these 3 women that I was willing to travel to. And so, yeah, it just didn't line up so quick with the other 2, but I also kind of kept getting to know them a bit, and it just more red flags were coming up, and I was like, no, I wouldn't say red flags. It just, there was one that I really kind of was like, wow, this girl's like energy is like fucking bang on. And I another thing I was doing in this whole process is I was asking every single girl, one of the first questions when they messaged me, if they looked promising, like if I looked at their photos, they looked attractive and they looked compelling in some way, I liked some of the things that they posted or said, I'd be like, what's your zodiac? What's your human design? Or what's your birth date? And I'll figure it out. And so every single girl that I had, any type of reasonable conversation with, and some of the conversations I had with these girls were hours long. Like I was on the phone, like it was ridiculous. And I'm so blessed that I have Clinton, Katie's brother, because he just stepped up and he was like, okay, I'm going to let you do this. And I also had Mark, who used to run my farm back in the day. He was up here at the time, helped me on the homestead. And so they were just kind of stoked to just let me do this thing. I forever grateful that these guys just stepped in for me. I mean, I'm still making dinner and stuff for the kids and still being available, but I really just kind of went all into this. I didn't work much. I just went all into this. And so anyways, this one girl, Jen, who's the girl, her first message to me was similar to the others, and it was just like, hey, I'm sorry you're getting trolled, but I really like what you had to say. And anyway, so we got on the phone real quick, and I was just immediately taken by this girl. Like, her energy was like bang on. Her gaze was really intense. Reminded me a lot of Katie, actually, the way she looked at me. Katie had this like really intense, deep way of looking through my soul that just kind of just spoke to me. And Jen has that too. And so this was, I think it was on a Wednesday, and we were just hitting it off, and we just kept talking and talking. And I was like, look, let's meet up. And she was in Ontario, and so I was like, let's meet up in, how do you want that to go? And give me 1 second. I got to just talk to my kid for a second. 1 sec. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, one of the things about being a parent is sometimes you just gotta like fucking do shit, right? You gotta. So, anyways, so I say to her, "Let's meet up. Like, I'll fly to wherever you are." And so, I would always. There was a couple girls where this was on the table. I'm like, "How do you want to meet? I can do whatever you want. I'll fly to you. I'll fly you to me. Whatever you want." And so I flew to Toronto. So this is a Wednesday. I got on a flight to Toronto on Friday. And so we got separate Airbnbs. I'm not going to share all the details of the story because it's too personal, but I'll share some things that were really, kind of transcendent moments on how I knew Jen was the right one. So we got separate Airbnbs. And I go to Toronto. I don't get in until like 8 o'clock. And so I get in and I go to meet her at her place, and she makes me dinner, and I liked that. That was cool. And we just totally hit it off. I'm not going to share any of the details of whatever things happened, but we just, needless to say, we really hit it off. And so I went home. I went back to my Airbnb. We stayed in the Annex in Toronto, which is kind of like maybe the last decent area of Toronto. And I go back to my place, and it's 1 a.m. Toronto time, and I get a phone call from one of my best friends, this guy Stavros, and his wife Julie was Katie's best friend. And as a couple, we were like best friends. Their kids are friends with my kids, and we were very, very connected in many different ways. And Stav calls me, and he's like, dude, I got to tell you about this dream that Julie just had. Because it was morning for them, like later morning. They're in Greece. And he's like, Julie had a dream that Katie came to her in the dream and said that she was going to bring this girl that's part Greek to you, and that girl would bring our families together in Greece. Because I've been trying to go to Greece for a while, just haven't had the opportunity because our friends moved there. They had their youngest daughter pass away. It was a horrible experience, if you can imagine. And they're from Kelowna originally. But Stav was born in Greece, but he left there a long time ago, lived in Kelowna. And they moved to Greece actually after their daughter passed because they just didn't want to have to deal with everybody forever asking them about their daughter. And I understood that. So they moved to Greece. And so, but me, Stav, Julie, and Katie all stayed in really close touch. We talked on the phone all the time, especially when their daughter passed. Katie was very involved. with that with them. And Julie and Katie had a very deep spiritual connection. And Julie is a dreamer. She has prophetic dreams all the time, and so she says, like, yeah, I had this dream that you were gonna. Then Katie came to me in the dream and said that this girl who's Greek, part Greek, is going to bring our families together in Greece. And it just so turns out that Jen's half Greek. And it just so turns out that her mom runs this Airbnb in Greece. And they didn't know that. So they called me at 1 a.m. to tell me that. And so I was kind of like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. Like, what? So anyways, there's been all these unbelievably serendipitous things that have happened since I met Jen. And we had an unbelievable time in Toronto, and just like all of these crazy things that just have shown me that Katie wants me to move on. Like, why wouldn't she, right? Like, who wouldn't want their spouse to move on? What, you wanna just like, no, you should be in mourning. You should be depressed for 10 years. Fuck that. My wife wasn't like that, and neither am I. And so yeah, so it's just been this unbelievable experience. And then so I had her here last week. Her and I went to a wedding together, a friends of mine wedding, and more serendipity. Just like, I'm not going to get into all of it, but it's just been unbelievable serendipity and synchronicity nonstop with the two of us. Like, we think the same things at the same time. Things just line up. Like, when we're together, things just happen. It's just like lines up. It's just like constant green lights. And so I found over the years that I started paying attention to synchronicity a number of years ago. I read books like Think and Grow Rich, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, a book called Never Eat Alone. It's kind of like books about just like self-development and whatnot. And I started just paying attention to synchronicity. And I just found that whenever I'm experiencing synchronicity, it means I'm on the right path. Whereas when I'm not and things aren't lining up, it's like stubbing your toe. This thing didn't work. Okay, I pay attention, Hopefully the wind isn't making... How's the sound on the microphone sound? Is it okay? Let me know if the sound is okay, because it's kind of windy right now. I'll move if I have to. But I found that when I'm experiencing synchronicity, it just means that I'm on the right track. And that's how it's been with Jen. It's just been insane. And so anyways, so she came here and spent about a week here, and I got her to come to the homestead and meet my kids, because that's the ultimate test, right? You can yeah, Carl Jung got it right, totally. You can meet somebody and they can line up, but then if they meet the kids and it's not right, and the kids don't jive and stuff like that, then it's obviously no good, right? But yeah, it was unbelievable. My kids just immediately were just like so interested in her. And my kids are very intuitive, especially my daughter, super intuitive. If there's somebody around that they're not vibing with, they're just not present. They're just not there. They kind of go do other things. But having her here, and she stayed in the guest house and stuff too, was very, very treading very lightly, with my children. But yeah, needless to say, she's the one. It's been unbelievable. My kids are just so green lights. Katie's brother, Clinton, just loves her. It's just been amazing. And so it's crazy because she's literally every single fucking thing on this list, to the zodiac sign, to the human design profile, to the body type, to everything. Like, it's fucking crazy. So we'll look at this thing, and I'll kind of show you. But another thing that she revealed to me too is that she wrote a list some time ago, and she read it to me, and she showed it to me. She wrote it in a book, and she read me this list, this sort of manifestation list. And it's like, it's me 100%. Like, not a single thing that isn't, like, every single thing on her list is me. It's fucking crazy. And so, anyways, it's just been this unbelievable journey of serendipity and synchronicity. And it's been like all these things aligning. I've really felt like my wife's spirit has just been, she put it here. She put her here. And everybody in our family is feeling that too. Everybody who meets Jen is just like, oh my God, like, this is unbelievable. Like, how is this possible, you know? But it is possible because that's what we do. We're creators. We're here to create. And when we understand our power and our potency and we put that into the manifestation of intention, things happen. I believe this more than ever now because I've done it twice. So the title of this video, How I Manifested the Woman of My Dreams and How You Can Do It Too, this is talking about how I met Katie and how I met Jen. It's this exact same thing. And it's unbelievable. And so, yeah, that's the story. And so it's crazy. It's funny, you know, some of you guys are tripping on the new age stuff. It's like, that's not me. I'm not new age. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I think you're right. A lot of the new age stuff is totally subversive, satanic. But that's not me. I'm not interested in that. So I don't know what you're talking about. But I appreciate your concern. Okay, so let's get into the gravy of this, and I'm going to read you guys this dating profile. It's because it's ridiculous. I understand, but you know what? It worked. So you can talk shit about it all you want, but at the end of the day, it worked for me, and I think it could work for you too. So this is it. So I wrote it in a text document, and then I kind of found some of my sort of best pictures and stuff like that, and then posted it. But I don't know, and maybe you can screenshot this all you want. But this is the kind of stuff I put in here. So this is in a way, this is marketing 101. I never studied marketing officially, but I've been a marketer for a long time. And so I understand niche market type of marketing. When I was selling my first iterations of my book and my online courses and stuff like that, I knew that I had to go specifically at the target audience. And that's what this is. This is like a straight up marketing. I want to eliminate 99% of the people that are going to read this because I'm not interested in 99% of people. I'm only interested in 1%, and even of that 1%, probably even more specifically, less than that. So my whole approach in this is just to be super straightforward and to just call and just like not hesitate on anything and just say exactly what I want. And if you don't like it, I don't fucking care. Good. If you don't like it, you're offended. Perfect. Because then I know you're not a fit. So I probably left it there long enough that you can screenshot any of that stuff, right? And this video we posted, so you can do all that. But the basic idea here. So when I was inspired, I mentioned Adam Kokesh's thing on this. I think it was on the homesteading for singles thing. He was the guy that inspired me to do this and kind of format this for me, because originally my list was mostly just this. Like when my friend Jillian said, write a list of what your perfect female is, it was these. It was non-negotiable and negotiable. And we'll go through all that. But so when I saw Kokesh's thing, I was like, oh, I liked how he formatted that, because he had like sort of an introductory paragraph, which, you know, you kind of see it when you post on Facebook, because you can see, you know, there's like only so much text shows up at first. So you just kind of want that to be your introduction. I kind of formatted this to fit that. And then you expand it. And then I went into further detail. So I kind of started it with just this blurb here that was the thing that you could see, you know, a little bit about me, and then just me kind of coming out and being like, yeah, I'm on YouTube, this is me, I'm on X, blah blah blah, go and look at my stuff. And then decide if you love or you hate me. There it is. It's all out in the open right there. And then I go into my details. Then I go my homestead, because I started with, this was originally on the homesteading for singles thing. So I kind of felt like it was necessary to speak to that. And then I said your details, right? And then this is the part I love, which worked so well, was how do we proceed? So it's like, okay, yeah, here's my details. I'm 45 on the human design. I'm a generator 5-1. I'm a Libra. Here's my date of birth. This is where I live. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a 25-year veteran conspiracy realist. Politically, I say I'm not far right. I'm just right so far. Wear my values on my sleeve. No COVID shots. My kids are totally unvaxxed. Home birth. I delivered both my kids with my bare hands. Like, all this stuff's important for me to say, because if I want to meet somebody that's on my wavelength, I want them to agree with who I am. And if they don't agree, great. Then I can eliminate them off the list, right? The less people on the list, the better. That's how this kind of super niche marketing works. And it's the exact same thing for when you're looking for a partner. It's like, if somebody isn't going to be on exactly my wavelength, they're not a fit. Like, this is my life. I want specific things. I have 2 beautiful children that I love more than anything, and I need to honor them and make sure that whoever comes into my life is going to fit into that world, right? So this is all like just a little bit about me. And then, here's my homestead, a little bit about that, what we've got going on. People can find this stuff out too, right? They go on. That's why I just said at the beginning, I'm like, I'm just wearing this on my sleeve. I'm putting myself out there, and, I'm no longer available. That's why I've taken this off. That's partly why I did this thing today too, is because I'm still getting DMs from girls, and I'm not responding to them. And I'm just like, I'm off the market. So I'm done. But I felt like I'd like to share this, because I think this could be useful to other men and women who want to meet somebody that's right along their wavelength. It's like, be so fucking specific, offend people. Who cares? If they're offended, great, then they're not a match. If you're easily offended, then you're not my type. So perfect. You want to troll this and talk shit all you want, have at it, man. In a way, the more people do, the more views it's going to get. So if you post this in like that unvaccinated singles group and do this kind of thing, the more it gets commented and trolled, don't worry about that. Just watch the DMs come in. And so anyways, bit about my homestead, and this is the part that I like this down. I'll read through this, because this was so effective in terms of like filtering out. Like I said, 80% of women that messaged me were just not a fit, but 20% were pretty damn good. And they were going through in their messages to me and saying, I'm this and I'm this and I'm not this and this is why, and so on and so forth. And so this was the fun part. This is what I took this from Adam Kokesh's thing, and he did that, and I kind of modeled him. And so I say, I will break down what I'm looking for in 2 lists, non-negotiable and negotiable. If you're not a fit, don't be offended, just move on. I'm in a position to get exactly what I want, and I will not settle. You can be from anywhere in the world. For the right fit, I can fly anywhere and meet up, or fly you to me, and I'll pay for you to move here if you are the one. When you are here, you do not have to work for money. I have all that covered. You just have to focus on being a homemaker and a mother. I do not expect you to raise my kids. I have that covered, but you are expected to integrate into my family. And to me too, my thoughts there was like, take some pressure off a woman. Like, I want a woman to be part of my family. And that doesn't mean I'm just gonna like, as soon as you move in, I'm gonna just check out and now you're gonna raise my kids. It's not like that at all. But I want to kind of like take the pressure off that, because it's a sensitive thing, right? So here's my non-negotiable list. And this is where it kind of gets funny. And this is where people just, the sort of left-wing social justice warrior losers and the right-wing incel losers just got so offended by this shit. So non-negotiable, attractiveness, at least an 8 out of 10. Really, I just prefer 8s than 9s and 10s for the reasons I said. Girls that are too hot are just too high maintenance. They're just, generally speaking, their personalities aren't all that great. And I like that. That's a good thing for me. Age range between 28 and 38. And literally Jen is all of these things, and she's going to watch this too. So, but height range 5'4" to 5'9", Must be Caucasian, any mix of white European descent. That sent the left-wing social justice warriors to the moon. They were, how dare you? How dare you ask for a white girl? How fucking dare you? You know, you can be black, Asian, Indian, and marry within your race till you're blue in the face, and people will celebrate that. But if you're white and you want a white girl, how dare you, right? Fit with curves, not overweight, you know. Clear skin, good health, want to have at least 2 children, share my traditional conservative values. A good cook and homemaker, not high maintenance or materialistic. Don't wear a lot of makeup. Have a good relationship with your parents. Stable personality, not bipolar. Good natured and optimistic. Not put off by my radical viewpoints, right? I'm sure a lot of people who don't know me would hear some things that I say and say, he's fucking nuts. And so they have to be able to handle that. Not a feminist, but you embody the divine feminine energy. Not a vegetarian or vegan. I will never date a vegetarian or vegan. I was one, not interested. Not an atheist, not a gold digger. Immediate disqualification if you're a big IG girl, Instagram girl with sexy photos or an OnlyFans. I literally had girls like that reach out to me that had like all these like sexy photos nonstop. I'm just not into it. Or some of them had OnlyFans accounts, not into it. Thank you very much, but no, you're not going to make good mom material if that's your scene. And then here's my negotiable. So prefer a Canadian or a girl from BC, but open to anywhere, right? It's like I prefer it, but doesn't have to be. Not on Instagram. So it's like you can have an Instagram account. I don't really care as long as you're not like a fucking posting sexy photos of yourself constantly. Not a boss lady, so not one of these just hardcore. Just not like I don't mind if a girl has a career. That's a given these days. I mean, the way society's gone, it's like of course she's gonna have a career, but not a boss lady. Just not like a hardcore trying to be a guy, basically. Don't have kids, but open to the right situation. And this is what sent the lefties like to the stratosphere was don't have kids, but open to the right situation. If you have kids, they must be 100% white and younger than mine. Baby daddy must be out of the picture or completely amicable. This was funny because in the comments, it triggered people like crazy. But in the DMs, women were like totally cool with that. I even had some women that had non-white kids and just saw that and just said, hey, you know, this is me and, you know, it's okay. I hope that's okay. But I'm like, nah, it's not really. I know it's not. Like, I don't want a brown baby. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sure another brown guy would be more open to that. And maybe that would be a better fit for you than it is me. You know, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have a bunch of kids and then one of those kids be a kid that just doesn't fit in with the rest. Like, that would suck. Because I've had friends that are mixed race and that's what they say, or kids that are adopted and that's what they say. So I didn't want that. Likes to garden and get dirty. Intelligent and well-read. Astrological signs, Taurus between April, May 9th. I got all this from the birthday book. And so that's how I came to this conclusion. Cancer in here. Jen is a Cancer. Her personality is unbelievably compatible with mine. It's just crazy. Potential Pisces, Virgo, blah, blah, blah. Prefer not a Gemini, but I'm open to it. I wasn't turning people away that were Geminis. I did go on a date with a girl who's a Gemini, but figured out pretty quickly, like, no, not going to happen. And then on the human design stuff, I said, generator, manifesting generator, manifestor, projector, but these profiles specifically. And I would basically just eliminate, if I were to do this again, I would just eliminate that and I would just say generator, manifesting generator, any one of them is fine on the number of profiles, that's fine. I've realized that now. But anyways, I'll just keep it in there so I have the original. And then this is the part that just worked very well as far as getting exactly what I wanted and making it go the way I wanted. As I said, how do we proceed? You do not need to post photos of yourselves in the comments because in these groups, a lot of people that post would say, you know, and mostly women, because it's always more men going for less women, right? And so women would be like, I'm not going to respond to your DM, show pictures of yourself in the comments so I can just filter it out. So I was like, I don't care. I'll do the work. I'll go and look at your profile, whatever. So you do not need to post photos of yourself in the comments. You should have enough photos in your profile that give me a sense of what you look like. If there's not enough, I will not bother. And that's typical of, women on social media, is like a lot of overweight girls just do those kinds of photos, right? Where it's just like their face and their tits, and then you don't see anything else. So like, if that's how you're posting, then I'm just not going to bother. And that was certainly the case. If you don't meet my criteria, please don't reach out. I didn't listen to that, a lot of them. If you meet my criteria, simply leave a comment saying that you'd like to connect and add me as a friend, and I'll reach out. Once we have a few exchanges, we will proceed to speak over FaceTime or Zoom. We'll not spend endless hours texting back and forth. If I like you, we'll get to know each other by having real conversations, and then I would like to meet. If you live far away, I'll fly to you, or I will fly you to a good neutral location, a meeting place, and we'll get separate hotel rooms. I don't expect you to give yourself up sexually on the first date. If a first meeting goes well, I'll invite you to my place, and you can stay at my guest house and blah blah blah. And Jen has done that and come to the guest house and all that stuff. So that's the dating profile. I'm sure that's going to be endless content and ammunition for haters out there, and have at it, boys. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, that's mostly what I wanted to do in this stream. I think I'm going to go and make lunch for my kids here. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was quite a journey. And this woman that I met, Jen, she's literally every single thing in that list, on the negotiable side and the non-negotiable side, like every single thing. And I feel completely blessed. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. And everybody, I've introduced her to a lot of my friends, because I went to a wedding of a friend of mine last weekend with her, and every single friend has reached out to me after and has been like, wow, that girl is incredible. Not only is she beautiful, but she's just, her personality is just magnetic. And that's kind of how I am too. Like, I have a magnetic personality. And when I was a bad person, it attracted bad people to me. But then when I became a good person, it attracted good people to me. And so I've been blessed to have just amazing people around me in my life. And it's part of how I was able to, get through my grief with my late wife, because I had all this love around me, and, good relationship with my kids, and they're both looking at me right now. So they're both wanting to, and get some lunch going on. But I don't know if there's some super chats, you can throw them at me. I'm not going to hang out too long. There's so many comments on here. I don't even know where to begin, but I think, yeah, thank you guys for just being supportive and reaching out, and thank you for all the really nice women I had conversations with. It was cool. Like, it was really cool to talk to some just really nice quality people. There was actually also a lot of really quality men, I have to say too. Like, again, the volume of comments is always from the losers, but the number of people that were really nice, and I would say that unvaccinated Facebook group is if you're going to do something like this, go in there and do it. Don't do the homesteading for singles one. It's just lame. It's too many losers in there. Don't waste your time on losers. Don't waste your time on trolls. If people are hating on you, let them fucking hate. They're rowing your boat. It's like, people want to talk shit and do all this stuff. Hey, have at it, man. Talk about me all you like. That's what it is. It's people. It's like there's an old saying that says there are three types of people in the world. There's people who make things happen. There's people who talk about things that happen, and then there's people that wonder what happens. And most people are in the middle. Like, most people just talk about things, but very few people actually make things happen. And if you want to be the kind of person that's going to attract the best case scenario for yourself, you got to make things happen, right? And you got to just like get it done. And that means just like putting your nose down to the grindstone and just cranking it and just ignoring losers. Like, people are always going to talk shit. And some people, for them, it's important because they want they need the they need the engagement. You know, a lot of content creators out there who spend their time talking shit. That's just what they do. Like they're hurting for engagement, and so they just like say retarded shit, and that's what gets them their engagement, and that's just their thing, and that's okay. Talk about me all you want. It actually just brings more people to me because the kind of people that I want to have in my world are people that make things happen. And people who make things happen don't listen to losers who talk about things happening. They might hear it and then they'll go, "Oh, I'll look into this." And then so people, you can talk shit about me all you want, but anybody who has any level of discernment is going to listen and go, "I'm going to look into it myself." That person isn't actually so bad that what that other person said, because people can lie, right? People just make shit up. And so Gally says, when is she making an appearance? I don't know. No rush. No rush to do that. She's not moving out here right away. But that is being planned right now. And so, yeah. So, um, so yeah, that's my whole dating journey and how I manifested the woman of my dreams twice. And so, yeah, hopefully that can be inspiration for you guys. And yeah. Um, okay, I'll answer a few questions here. What's the best way to get a hold of you for some consulting questions? Um, yeah, follow me on Telegram or X. I don't share I am teaching law workshops this summer. I've got one coming up in Dundas in August. I have another one in Ontario in Pickering in November, and I'm doing another one in Kelowna in October. And so the only place that I talk about those things is on my Telegram channel, which is at shtffarmer.t.me or something like that. I think it's in the show notes of this video. Or follow me on X. I do share about those here and there. And so there is a path in order to get in touch with me if you want to learn about that stuff. And yeah, what is it? I'm just going to answer questions that are sort of related to what we went through. I'm not going to just go into all this stuff. And like, if it's news for you about my wife's passing, then you'll have to just go and watch that video. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole now. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it there. Yeah. If you don't, whatever. Don't do Facebook, great. Whatever. But yeah, I hope that it was kind of neat actually. Once I did this, Oxen says, "Is she a 10?" She is a 10 overall, and absolutely. She was kind of making fun of me. She's like, "You wanted an 8, but you got a 10." It's like, it's true, but that's because she and the type of woman that I'm interested isn't just her looks. So yeah, in that regard, she's a fucking 12. So, but yeah, yes, it says tall poppy syndrome. It's so funny. It's how it is, right? But I just found it so amusing how when I looked at all those things, how people were literally spending days talking about my dating preferences. I just can't imagine a more of a sort of a beta male thing. It's like you're talking about another man's dating preferences. It's like kind of gay. Like, but the trolling is funny because it's just ironic, right? It's like all these people that think they're getting under my skin, but it's like, dude, you're just rowing my boat, right? And it's kind of gay. Like if you're a guy talking about another guy's dating preferences, it's like, dude, it's kind of gay. I'm sorry, but how come you're not out crushing it on your own? I don't know. It's funny. But anyways, folks, I'm going to leave it there. This is a slice. I got to go make lunch for my kids and get on the homestead. We got to harvest peas today. We got to harvest strawberries. I got to change some irrigation stuff around. Yeah, I got a lot to do. So anyways, folks, been a slice. Again, if you do want to know about my workshops and stuff like that, the only place I post about them is on Twitter, on Telegram. I think my Telegram, yeah, my Telegram and Twitter are down there. I do, if you add me on Facebook, I am. I don't. It's hard. I can't keep up with that actually. Don't add me on Facebook. But I'm on Instagram now too, and you'll see that I will share some of that stuff. I don't share it on YouTube though. YouTube's just it's too much. If I talk like I do streams about law, I can I do talk about that stuff here, but I find it difficult because there's too many subscribers. I find it difficult to really help people. Is just too many. So I filter you down into the smaller places, and then it's easier to manage. Whereas it's too difficult to manage comments and stuff on YouTube. And so if you don't use those platforms, Telegram and Twitter, then I'm sorry. Then you don't have a way of finding out about the work that I do teaching law. But if you do, there you go. All right, folks. Thank you so much, and I hope this can be inspiration for you, and you can get out there and find the perfect person.